The Mini Rally Challenge made its highly anticipated return to the gravel and headed to Wales for the Plains Rally. And first up, we take a look at the R50 naturally aspirated category on the event. Taking 10th place at the end of the rally will be Mark and Stephen Winkles. They'd end up with 3 minutes of penalties by the end of the day, which would have been the difference between their 10th place finish and 8th on the R50 leaderboard. There was frustration for Simon Austin and Dave Vardy. We lose them when they retire on stage 3 with engine problems. For Hugh and Joseph Littler-Jones, it will be a 9th place finish. They miss out on another position by just 10 seconds. And it was 8th for Jody and Aaron Bevington. They have a 1-minute penalty to contend with, but that didn't affect their overall position. And Catherine Bell with Dave Simmons alongside this time were glad to be back on the gravel in that Spark Mini after a few months away from it. They were a little cautious to start with, but soon got back into the swing of things. They come here in a championship fight with the Ablets, and it will be a case of the winner here this weekend leading the series. They go into the last 2 stages just 19 seconds back from Team Ablet, and they would manage to take 18 seconds from them. Frustratingly for them, missing out on that position by a single second and showing just how close it is here in the R50 category. So for this weekend, it was 7th place on the results, 2nd in the championship standings now. So that means it's some good points in the bag for Kevin and Tana Ablett. They do have an issue with the pace notes on stage 1, having to drive on site, but the times were still pretty good and they'd be back on it for the remaining stages and back in that fight with a good feeling in the car, even if the times were probably a little slower than they felt they could have been going. They do come away from this round leading, as we've mentioned, the R50 championship standings though. And it was a 5th place finish in the R50 category for Chris Allen and Rhys Griffin. They'd finish 48 seconds behind Alex Stopps and Charles McElhenney, who end the event 4th in the R50s. Guy Butler and Flo Butler couldn't score points as they are organisers of the championship, but that wouldn't stop them joining in the fun and mixing up the leaderboard as well. They went well all day. Flo getting into the notes quickly, and they were putting in some good times, loving the chance to drive on some former Rally GB stages from the WRC too. They end the event 3rd place overall in the R50s, but of course leaving those points for Alex Stopps behind. For Ruan Lowry and Greg Halfpenny, it would be the runner-up spot in the R50s this time out. They end the event with just 10 seconds separating them from the eventual winners. So it was a close fight right through the event for the leading crews in the category. But taking that all-important number 1 spot will be Ryan and John Evans. They only finished building the Mini in the early hours of Friday morning, and this was only their 2nd time on gravel. They went a little off the notes on stage 2, almost ending up in the ditch, but apart from that and a few small issues throughout the day, they'd take the R50 victory this weekend. So at the end of an unusually grueling event here in Wales for the Mini Rally Challenge, the results of the R50 category shaped up like this. On to the R53 results, and it will be a 9th place finish for Stephen Burles and Rob Thompson. John Day and Emma Cooper would end the rally with a 10-second penalty. It didn't affect their overall result though. They were a little way back from the crew up ahead. And that crew was Ben Hearsey with James Swallow alongside, the pair taking 7th place in the R53 category this week. It was a family outing for Henry Cunwill and Dilwyn John. It was 6th place as well for their efforts. They were in a very close battle for a number of positions by the finish on the leaderboard, missing out on 5th by just 2 seconds, giving us a glimpse of what Henry was capable of. And in that 5th place were Jacob Neal and James Coos. They too missing out on a position on the leaderboard by just 2 seconds, all very close in the R53 supercharged category here on the Plains Rally. And fourth place by the end of the event will be Andrew Otto and Tom Hyde. They'd end the rally close to the podium as well, just 9 seconds off it in fact by the end of the 5 stages. Onto the podium places then here in the top category of the Mini Rally Challenge, and it was third for David Burden and Stephen Moises. They put in some good times in the first few stages to steal a march into fourth, moving into third, and they held that with some good pace in the final 3 stages, a result that moves them into the lead of the gravel standings now. Unfortunately, we lose Tim Kevin Rogers and Mason Woodford. They put in a fastest stage time to lead the way after stage 1 by a single second, but midway through stage 2, they'd have a belt tensioner snap on the engine and have to pull over, eventually limping out of the stage and straight to the trailer. But they had showed a glimpse of the potential for future rounds. Not bad for their first time in the car.
Fast 3 left in, over loose, 80.
Got no power.
Short.
Got no power.
Short 3 left.
Nick Skelton hadn't been out on the gravel since 2002. Stefan Arndt sitting alongside this weekend and bringing the experience. They didn't come into this round though expecting too much, but the pace on the opening stage was promising, and a fastest time on stage 2 was, well, even better. Things were going great right up until the final stage when they dropped down to 3 cylinders, but thankfully the time lost wasn't enough to take that second place finish away. All of that action and drama means it's victory this weekend for Sven Grube and Alfie Element. They found the opening stages tricky due to the loose gravel and being first on the road, but the later stages were a little better. Stage 4 would see them finish the stage with steam coming from the bonnet, a leaking radiator, the culprit, and they'd find a microfiber cloth and some cable ties and make an emergency repair for the final stage, getting them through to the finish to take the victory and the lead in the championship as well now. So at the end of the Plains Rally for 2026, and on WRC stages no less, the results at the top of the R53 supercharged category shaped up like this. Next up, the crews remain on the gravel, heading to Cumbria for the Greystoke Stages Rally and back on the maps. We'll be there to bring you the highlights and see how our crews got on.